Hello and welcome back to your weekly sort of extra towards Chris Chandler Comprehensive History. And first of all, if you're wondering what that is in the background, I've literally started watching First Dates for like the first time in 6 years. Apparently it's set in Bath now, apparently. Anyways, so in part 65, ladies and gentlemen, and as you heard me spoke about during the video in question, this is the episode that state that in my mind it comes without a shadow of a doubt that Chris is now certifiably insane. And why is that, you may be asking? Well, it's down to one simple reason. It's because this is the episode in which Chris sent out his copies of Sonnet issue 13, otherwise known as The Awakening of the CPU. A very text-heavy, a very minimalist, color-paletted sequence of events. I call it a sequence of events because at times I'm watching it, and even I thought the whole story was so completely unlimited in its completely infallibility, aka I couldn't make sense of anything that was going on, and I couldn't work out where one insane dump of reference stopped and where another one began. I also couldn't make logic of any of the decisions anybody made, and I didn't even know what on earth the story all meant. A lot of people may suggest the idea that this confirmed in Chris that he was a CPU all along, but that doesn't mean anything because we know, you and I both know, that Chris is not a CPU. So what was the point? I think it's actually kind of astounded me the more I think about it that Chris has won, even when Chris was writing like the first issues of Sonnet, that I don't think it's ever occurred to him that whatever he had, like, no plot and no direction whatsoever for Sonnet. Forget the now listen, before you jump on the bandwagon, you don't necessarily have to have a background in writing. You can literally write some really outstanding little short stories and just sort of like build upon these ideas if you actually spend some time and dedicate yourself to doing them. Unfortunately, and you say with me now, but Chris doesn't do any of these things. All Chris does is literally just steal ideas from anywhere that he likes. Doesn't know why these ideas work. They don't know why they work for the mediums that they are a part of, and that's it. Chris he steals or recycles any ideas that he can get and literally just throws them at the wall. And I could spend the next couple of minutes trying to describe the nuances of everything else that happened, from Chris's comment about spoiled children, just because Chris made a video about walking to the post office. And I could also mention that painful segment about Chris, spray painting shoes, which heavily featured Bob, and how the two just sort of like it got on my nerves the way that Chris talked to Bob. I mean, we know Bob is far from a good person. I think we've established this. But what scares me is just the fact that Chris is incredibly like dismissive and just sort of he does all of these, and the lack of responsibility. Fine well what I'm talking about when Bob talks about, her glasses are broke, and Chris just says, "Oh yeah, everybody, give me $50 and maybe I'm going to buy my mom some new glasses." Like, Chris, that is basically the attitude Chris has towards anything in his life up until that point. Literally, it's somebody else's responsibility. And Chris talks about the responsibility of the CPU. Chris, I know it's been said hundreds of times before, and it'll be said 100 times again, but Chris, you can't just ignore responsibilities just by trying to say that there's somebody else's to deal with. That's not how that works. I hate it because you know that it's not fair. You know it's not our responsibility, but Chris always thought that it was because, well, if Chris never takes responsibility, then what is compelling him to take responsibility? I know this, and you know this. I mean, even the part in Solitude 13 where Chris said that the idea guys extorted him for $6,000. Chris doesn't even batter an eyelid at any of this. It hasn't occurred to Chris that everything that resulted from the financial crisis was entirely Chris's fault, because for some reason Chris prioritized the needs of a fictitious place over his mother's well-being, his own well-being, his own welfare, his mother's own welfare, and for what, ladies and gentlemen? And by the way, I know fine well that there are some videos I want to have coming out where I talk about Chris's business, but I want to make it a bit more of a comprehensive sort of series of videos, if you know what I mean, because a lot of them concern, well, among many other things, the amount Chris has made on things like Etsy, the things he's made on YouTube, premium throughout Chris's live streams. Then, of course, there's the Quick Light store, which is also something I'm going to have to cover in detail. And Chris will still just beg for money no matter what happens. I know it's been quite a number of days since Chris was last made a post on Blue Sky. In fact, I can honestly say maybe I should just go onto Blue Sky right now just to find out, just to know on the top of my head as to whether or not Chris has made any sort of update, because this is always sort of like a very interesting little way of trying to find out what happens. Usually when I do no, it's still apparently just still Chris saying, Happy New Year. That is literally the sole amount that he's contributed. But then again, considering that Chris may be in Finland right now, or whatever happens, we'll wait and see. But one other thing you're going to be taking note of this, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that happens all too often, is that no matter if Chris becomes even more deranged, that's the only thing that actually progresses in Chris's life, because Chris never changes except become more crazy. And by the way, we are not even done yet, ladies and gentlemen. There's still 20 more episodes to go, depending on whether or not Gino Samuel returns to do what he calls season 2, but that might not be for a while. But maybe I'll do a follow-up, like a mock episode 86, and just to say, guess what? This is still what has happened. Maybe enough to call up for 40 minutes or something. I don't know. We'll wait and see. So with all that being said and done, yeah, this honestly may be one of the more infuriating, because this is the point where Chris is not coming back. I don't care if you think Chris can change. He won't, because he has no desire to. He has decided this is what's comfortable for him. Blowing away $6,000 and treating your mother like garbage and treating your fans like garbage is apparently what Chris considers comfortable. But with all that being said and done, thank you for watching, and I cannot wait to see all of you guys again next time. So take care, and bye-bye for now.